what it says, it says list the potential rational zeros. Now remember, this is the factors of the back divided by the factors of the front. The back is 3, the front is 1. So factors of 3 are 1 and 3. The back is just 1, so it's plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 3. This is degree 3, so the maximum zeros it can have is 3. Use our calculators to narrow the list. So this is going to be the first one where really we're only going to get 1 0. So this is going to be x cubed minus x squared minus 3x plus 3. And I'm still in Zoom Standard, so I'm just going to go ahead and graph. It's got 3 zeros. And if you take a look over here, this is somewhere between -1 and -2, so that's not in my list. This one's between 1 and 2, so that's not in my list. So it looks like the only one in my list is 1. So narrow that list to x equal 1. Now, is it a 0? Well, trace, and then x equal 1. And it indeed is a 0. So x equal 1 is a 0. Now, remember, we're peeling the onion, so I need to divide out essentially x minus 1, because that's the factor. That's why you could do it long division like I did as a student, or synthetic. Synthetic means I'm dividing out the 0, so it's 1. So it's 1, -1, -3, and 3. Bring down the 1. 1 times 1 is 1, and add. 1 times 0 is 0, and add. 1 times -3, -3, and add. Now this is the remainder. So this is the constant, coefficient of x squared. So this gives me an x squared minus 3. I don't have any other zeros I can divide out. If I had another 0, I'd divide it out, but I don't have another 0. However, this is a quadratic. I can use the quadratic formula to get the other 2. Or in this case, I can say x squared minus 3 equals 0. X squared equals 3. Take the square root of both sides. Don't forget the plus or minus. So this is going to yield x equals plus or minus the square root of 3. So from my picture, this guy is minus the square root of 3, and this guy over here is plus the square root of 3. So you have plus and minus the square root of 3. So what are my zeros? My zeros are 1, square root of 3, minus the square root of 3. So remind ourselves, like with our worksheet, if we know the zeros, then we know the factors. So g of x can be factored into x minus 1, x minus the square root of 3, x minus the opposite of the square root of 3, leading coefficient is 1, because I come back up here to g of x, the coefficient on x cubed is 1. So the factorization of g of x is just x minus 1, x minus the square root of 3, x plus the square root of 3. Now the beauty of this is that if I'm trying to factor something, that if I know one of the zeros, I can work my way through to get the others. Without technology, well, only using a little piece of technology. Or even without technology at all, really, when it comes down to it. Because it would be easy enough for me to check to see, just put in x equal 1 in this guy. I would get 1 cubed minus 1 squared minus 3 times 1 plus 3, that gives me 0. That says right there, by hand, without using my calculator, right, that x equal 1 is a 0. This is a wonderful tool for those of you who can't factor. If you can find one of the zeros, you can get the other by working backwards. Is it a lot more work? Yeah. Then factoring, you betcha. But there's always a plan B or plan C. This is another way to go. This is a tool in your toolbox.